I have noticed that many men have no problem saying things that could be mildly offensive to my female friends. I can tell that the men who do this to each other really like each other and are doing it for fun. But what exactly is going through your minds when you do this? Story 1. The same reason I make fun of my female friends. You roast the ones you love. Anyone can kiss my ass or pretend I'm perfect. Someone who knows my faults but is still my friend. That's a true friend. It's a problem when it progresses to bullying, but otherwise it's just a game. Hanging out with comics, there were many times we just sat around ragging on each other. Story 2. The joke goes, men socialize by insulting each other, but they do not really mean it. Women socialize by complimenting each other, but they do not really mean it either. Story 3. Because that is what men do. You tease each other. That is how you know that you are friends. It goes back to our less sedentary, more competitive roots. Men always challenge each other, even for fun, because it is what men were designed to do. Men have turned it into a game to make sure we stay on top of it, the same way men enjoy competitive sports. Story 4. My ex-wife was horrified at this kind of thing. We were sitting around at our game night, hosted at our place that week, and our buddy Chris mentioned that he thought he needed to lose some weight and slapped his belly. One of the other guys said, a good first step would be to not eat a pile of donuts for 2 meals a day. And we all cracked up, including Chris. After everyone had left, she took me to task for not sticking up for Chris. I was absolutely mystified. I asked her what sticking up for him was supposed to look like. He said he needed to lose weight, not me or us. She said we should have told him he was perfect as he was, that he didn't need to lose weight, and not shamed his choices. I was like, he disagrees. What are you talking about? The example she gave was her and her crew telling a morbidly obese friend of theirs that she didn't need to change, was a goddess, and that men just couldn't handle how strong she was, which was obviously not true, even if well-intentioned. I asked her what she knew about Chris from us having talked about him. The answer was what I already knew. Solid dude, best dad, absolute wrecking crew in a fight, still loved his wife who was his high school girlfriend, and so on. The point I was trying to make was that we only talked trash to each other's faces. Behind our backs, we were each other's biggest wingmen, and it's been this way for decades. Whereas her crew always had one prime conversational topic, a well-meaning or concerned critique of whichever woman wasn't there. She seemed to think that their trash talking of their friends was better because it was behind their backs and cloaked in fake concern. We agreed to disagree. Story 5. As others have said, roasting each other can be a bonding experience for some friends. This does not mean that it does not occasionally cross lines for some of the people involved, nor does it mean that everyone enjoys it. Story 6. There is a lot to it. Part of it is a kind of counterintuitive signaling. I know our friendship bond is strong enough that I could say this, and we both still know it is just joking. It shows, I know you well enough, I know where the line is, and I know how not to cross it. This is another way of demonstrating your bond to each other. It gives them permission to respond in kind. Often, there is a compliment wrapped up in the insult. For example, when a friend shows off his new car and you say, wow, you must be really compensating. I feel sorry for your wife. What you are actually saying is, wow, this is an incredibly cool car. Story 7. I'm a New Yorker. That's how we show love. But you have to know your friend's boundaries to avoid being disrespectful. It's not just a male thing. All genders get to participate. My wife and I frequently tease each other. Story 8. Because we know we actually care for each other and support each other during hard times. It is extremely funny to act like we are at each other's throats. Also, because we are close, we can point at our genuine weaknesses and make jokes about them. Story 9. Because it's a way to be open and free with each other. Those saying men are emotionally unavailable because of this are completely wrong. If you have to censor what you say to someone, you are not open and free with them. You are reserving and closing yourself off. It's like advice guys are told to improve themselves, which in the long run is the healthy way to go. Improve yourself, heal, and sort your issues out. This contrasts with women who say you're perfect as you are and similar things. Then they never actually resolve their problems and continue repeating the same mistakes. Bizarrely, I am one of the mental health support people at work, yet I will call people out or joke with them. Still, people feel more comfortable opening up as well, that freedom of expression I previously mentioned. Story 10. In a way, it is the same as why men like to wrestle each other or play sports. There is a bonding element to pretend fighting. We practice with each other. It makes us better at receiving insults elsewhere and makes you more physically resilient in the case of sports. I think there is also a trust element to it. If you are so sensitive that you crumble when mildly insulted, then it is hard to trust you in a high-stress situation. Also, we can fight each other without actually causing harm, and that builds trust. Story 11. A lot of guys do it among themselves to toughen each other up. Friends giving you a hard time always comes with the understanding that you know you are on good terms with one another, so you can practice for the time when someone comes at you with malicious intent. To me, it looks like the verbal equivalent of practicing martial arts, which at some point will include a lot of experience accumulation. If you never put yourself into a situation of physical conflict, when it happens, you will be wholly unprepared to deal with it. Story 12. Because we both find it funny. To me, it's a fun contest to see who can tell the funnier joke. Because we know each other, we know what we can say without offending the other. There's no risk of someone getting offended on their behalf, as they will side with me, and that shuts the person up. I have my hang-ups with my weight, but they joke about it. It not only doesn't bother me, I find the jokes funny. They are laughing with me, and I know they don't actually have any negative feelings about me. It's fun. But it has to be in front of me. If I find out they are hiding jokes behind my back, that's a different story. Story 13. When men tease each other, they do not actually mean it. Similarly, when women compliment each other, they do not always mean it. Story 14. It's how men are. We talk negatively about each other. Some men can have a full physical fight and then have a beer together and laugh about it. Story 15. The closer you are, the better the dig. Hardly any offense is taken, so it is playful and lighthearted among friends. Story 16. That is the true locker room culture. We roast each other, talk trash, half-bully each other, and generally play fight when we are cool with each other. It is just a male thing and probably hormone-related. Story 17. To add what other people are saying, there is another part of the dynamic that you should account for. Men only really make fun of each other to signal that they care. That might sound strange if you are not a man, but let me try to explain with an example. I once had a friendly argument with a female friend who did not understand why we made fun of one of our shorter friends for his height. Of course, I said that we do not really mean to hurt him and that it helps him develop thick skin about it. But then she said that making fun of him trivializes his insecurities about his height. At that point, my other male friend stepped in to say, yes, we are trivializing his insecurities about his height because they are, in fact, trivial. There is nothing you can do about how tall you are. It is genetics. You are born with it. It is best to accept it and move on. When a man has issues with his height, it has less to do with actually being short and more to do with the perceived added value when you are taller, usually in the context of the dating market. The fact that some women flat out say they will not date anyone below a certain height supports this. Whether or not this is most women and whether or not they actually mean it, if a man hears that, he has to take it at face value. So there is a complex dynamic we have with him where we make fun of his height but otherwise have him as a close friend. We get to point out his perceived shortcomings, and he still gets to reap the benefits of being liked and appreciated. Hey, sorry, shorty. Did not hear you from all the way up here. Anyway, game night this Friday. See you there. It is a signal then that we like you and do not really think you should worry about this height thing. Men do not like putting it into words clearly, mostly because it is awkward, but also because what I just described does more to convey it than actually choosing the words. Also, it is worth noting that most men know when to draw the line. When you are friends with someone long enough, you get a sixth sense of what is allowed and what is going too far. So it is not like we have to tease each other on everything. Story 18. It's a test. If my friends cannot keep their cool with a little verbal sparring, how are they going to handle things when it really kicks off? Story 19. There is a psychology of friendship that reassures us that I'm thinking about you when I'm not with you, as friends do, and that I know a lot about you because we have shared intimate parts of our history. Then, to take that information and take it to the edge of friendly joking without going beyond that edge is actually a way to say that I am protecting you so I don't take it too far and expect that you will respond in the same way. Using humor, especially when using personal information, is a skill that requires knowledge and the ability to take it near or up to the edge, trusting that the joker will not go beyond it. The fact that this can be done with humor adds another level to this skill. Also involved is the subtle skill of negotiation or reading body language so that if someone does go too far, the group of friends lets him know he has crossed the line. Then there is the subtle communication necessary to tell a person you are sorry for going too far and to find a way to show it, respecting those boundaries of friendship. It's about pushing the boundaries of relationships and friendships while staying within the agreed boundaries of acceptable behavior. It is unusual for men to use this dynamic with women, as that is typically not done. However, I do not believe there is anything wrong with it. I truly believe some men and some women can be friends without sex, sometimes even really good, trusted friends, but usually those friendships are not included within the larger group of male friends. I am a woman. I have brothers, had a husband who has passed away, a son, and have worked my whole life with men. I think there is generally a difference in how men and women socialize with each other and with the opposite sex. Much of this is based on socioeconomic factors, probably most of it, as I have recognized. As a woman who's worked her whole life, I find socializing with women who have not worked to be very boring, because most of these women seem to focus on different things than I do. Story 20. Because it's funny, we all enjoy it, and it's a healthy expression of friendship. We know that we're simultaneously safe to say the things we say while also feeling 100% certain that there is no malice behind the things that are said about us. In a way, it's actually very therapeutic. Funnily enough, that is backed by science. A study recently published found that friends who playfully insult each other are far more honest and loyal with each other than friends who do not insult each other. They say women have access to deeper emotional connections through their friendships, and while that may be true, I would argue that strong male bonds are far more dependable, and the playful insult side of those friendships is a big reason why. Story 21. Men are honest about it. We take the mickey out of each other to their faces and generally accept where the line is, which varies from person to person. If that line has been crossed, they will usually apologize and move on. Sadly, there are some groups of women who are polite and friendly to their faces, but say things behind their backs that the person being talked about would be upset to hear. The best example is to watch men who are either serving or former military. They may sound like they are insulting or making fun of each other, but when the situation becomes serious, they are the first to step in to help. Whether one of them is being ganged up on in a fight, their car breaks down, they need somewhere to stay, or for some other reason they do not like leaving one of their own behind. Story 22. It's fun. Fun is derived from play. Play is often a harmless way of practicing fighting. Look at cats. Look at dogs. Look at humans. Throwing, kicking, running, grappling. These are all rudimentary elements of play among humans. Humans are also social animals, so it stands to reason that we engage in verbal play, as we can get into social fights and conflicts. Males often engage in trash-talking their friends as a form of play, which is grounded in practicing conflict. This is all subconscious, of course. It is amusing to attack and be attacked in a way that feels safe. It also helps us understand our friends better. I have learned more about my male friends' insecurities through their reactions to trash-talking than through engaged conversation. I know friend X does not like his weight mentioned. I know friend Y does not care about his weight but is sensitive about his thinning hair. I know friend Z does not care about their hair being thin but you cannot mention their past relationships and so on. Through conflict, we learn about one another without ever having to address it directly. I am sure my friends have picked up on similar things about me and have learned what not to criticize me about. Perhaps there are things they know about me that I do not even know about myself. Story 23. We call this clowning when done directly to each other. It is part of male bravado and helps toughen them up a little. If they do it behind each other's backs, that is entirely different. They are not friends. They are probably competing for the same woman and trying to gain her favor by badmouthing someone who is supposed to be a friend. It also shows a lack of loyalty and honesty. You do not do this to your brothers. There is a saying specifically about this. Story 24. Better question. Why do women treat other women like best friends when they actually dislike each other? I will talk poorly to my friends' faces, call them names, or bully them. I have even fought someone for talking about my friends behind their backs. A woman would never do that. Story 25. It could be said of Stephen, as it could be said of each man, that he was the plant manager of a sophisticated psychological refinery, capable of converting vast quantities of crude ridicule into tiny, glittering nuggets of sentiment. And vice versa as necessary. The Throwback Special by Chris Batchelder. Story 26. Men speak negatively to each other in person and compliment each other privately. Women compliment each other in person and speak negatively about each other privately. Story 27. It is because we genuinely like someone that we can make fun of them without meaning any harm. Someone who is polite to you 100% of the time likely wants nothing to do with you. Story 28. That is how you know you are actually friends with someone. If you cannot speak negatively about each other, then you are only acquaintances at best or disliked at worst. Story 29. Because it is funny and they can take it. It is a matter of trust and understanding each other's boundaries. Story 30. It's what I was shown. My dad criticized me, his friends who I considered uncles criticized each other, and me, my brother criticized me relentlessly. But it was always done with a smile on their face and a beer in their hands, so I took it as love. It took a long time to learn the difference and explains a very lonely childhood. Even now, as an old man, if I tease you, it means that I like you. Story 31. It's definitely because of how I grew up. My father and his friends did it to each other, and they did it to me and my siblings growing up. It's a challenging cycle. Story 32. It is an art form and verbal sparring. We all know it is a lie, so it is all fun and games. It is like a water balloon fight. The act of throwing things at each other might seem violent or mean, but it is mutual and harmless fun. Part of the art form is just banter and gap filling. Other parts involve seeing where each person is mentally, subconsciously observing if someone is uptight without realizing we are even doing it for that and other reasons. Story 33. Because men like this are not insecure like women are. That is it. If you want to explore the deeper meaning, it is to make men stronger so situations do not control their emotions. Humanity has been doing this since its existence. Story 34. If you cannot laugh at yourself, do you have any humor? And let's be honest, it's half-truths and better not to live in delusions. Like half of the roasts are just a preferred way of living. For example, I like fighting sports. My friends say that I like sweating and hugging with other men. It is not a lie. Story 35. It's a celebration of personalities. You celebrate the sense of humor of the one who is on the offensive, and you celebrate the laid-back, confident personality of the other person who can take it and play along. I think men make the most fun of the friends they like the most. Story 36. Why do women say fake nice things in front of each other, and then act passive-aggressive and nasty behind their backs? Men and women are just different. Story 37. Bro code. It is almost impossible to describe or fully understand. When we do not contact our close friends from day one, we know that something serious has happened. Story 38. Reminds me of the guys in my office. It is me, the only woman, and 4 other men. They are always interrupting each other, saying the craziest, sometimes very mean, things, but it is all in good fun and they care about each other. I think men just feel awkward being kind, so they focus their effort and attention on jokes instead. Story 39. It's a guy thing. You wouldn't understand. The more you like and are close to a brother, the more you will tease and pick on him. Story 40. Women sometimes get offended by small things and need emotional support. Some women give compliments to maintain peace, not necessarily because they mean them. We are not fake and do not feel the need to keep a facade. Men need resilience. It builds trust. The other day I was out with friends. One went to the restroom, then another followed. Someone joked, saying they were going to engage in something in the bathroom. Everyone laughed. We are in our late 30s. In similar situations, women might find this rude or offensive. Story 41. It is not everyone. However, there are many rather childish men who are friends with each other, and this is one of their ways to amuse themselves. They have to crack jokes all the time at each other's expense, or they do not know what to do or talk about. More serious-minded men like myself find it boring, tiresome, and wearing. It is definitely possible for men to have good, if not better, friendships without this behavior. Story 42. Camaraderie. I joke with people I like. I also flirt with my male friends because I am married. I am not going to flirt with some woman and upset my wife, so now we just pretend to flirt with each other. Gotta stay sharp. Story 43. Because we do not talk about feelings, clothes, or how good each other looks, we genuinely do not care. To pass the time, we just pick on them. It is a term of endearment for guys. Story 44. It's fun. We keep each other humble this way, but the people I banter back and forth with the most have also been my best friends I know I can always count on. Story 45. I don't know, I guess it's a societal norm. I don't always do it to my male friends, just the ones I am close with. Story 46. It's not a real friendship if you are not joking with each other. Some insults become very creative. There are some specific things you absolutely do not touch, but otherwise it is free for all. It shows how comfortable you are with someone. Story 47. Society does not reward men for expressing genuine emotions. Homophobia also makes many men wary. We insult each other because it demonstrates closeness, that is, we are good enough friends that I can say this to you and you will not get offended. Many of the insults are based on long-running in-jokes, which also serve as a bonding mechanism. Story 48. I roast everyone, guys and girls. My bosses, rich people, everyone. It works well when you roast yourself as well, so you don't come off cocky. This is called self-deprecation. Story 49. Testosterone. Testosterone makes us aggressive, makes us take risks, makes us forward and outward thinking, gives us grit in times of turmoil, makes us courageous in times of need. So how does this play into rib jabbing? Men have flourished from the beginning by being pack-minded, strength in numbers. Every goal needs a leader that organizes the pack toward accomplishing that goal. But who gets to be the leader? Men will naturally fall in line around who they subconsciously consider a more dominant leader. It's natural, we do it all the time. In some groups or circles, I am the alpha. In other circles, I step down a notch or two when a superior alpha is present. Again, we do this without thought. We have vetted them, and they are strong and who I want behind me when things go sideways. Rib jabbing is a way that men vet the leader in their group, the man most capable of leading if the scenario should arise. If I jab your ribs and you get upset, then I could posit that you are thin-skinned and would crumble at the first sign of pressure, not a good leader. But if I jab your ribs and you jab back harder, then you are signaling to me that you are capable of leading. All of this is under the guise of fun and respect. Our group is our pack. Any sign of emotion from anyone is considered weak and therefore indicates an unsuitable leader. Now, I am fully aware that we live in a comfortable time in a comfortable country where danger is not common. All this rib jabbing is DNA, really. It still has its place in your career, for instance, or courting a woman. Story 50. Men are uncomfortable talking about their feelings. So when they tease someone about something, they gauge the response to see how that person feels. For example, while playing basketball with some college guys, one person said he failed a class and his friends made fun of him. He said, "Don't tease. It's going to be a year out of my life. I need that class." His friends then became supportive. Another person got dumped by his girlfriend but teased back when they teased him. How men respond to teasing indicates how they feel and how much support they need from their friends. Story 51. I only joke around with people I love and trust enough to know they will not take it personally or get offended. I save polite, shallow niceties and boring small talk for people I do not care about. Story 52. That kind of bravado lets guys show that they understand each other well enough to know what will and will not be funny to each other. At the same time, it shows that you are close enough to take liberties with each other without feeling threatened or insulted. That's all in the background, though. Nobody is thinking of it that way. We are just joking around. Story 53. Guys tend to do a lot of playful banter involving put-downs and insults that are really taken as challenges. We start as kids and never really stop. It is like dogs and kids play fighting. I think it serves the purpose of giving us all practice for real challenges and insults that the real world will inevitably throw at us when we try to compete for resources and status. I do not think women do that. They take put-downs and insults as real and feel bad about them. In this kind of verbal jostling with each other, men do not mean them. It is just play. Story 54. I find this kind of bonding useful and fun. 1. It develops a quick wit. You not only have to be on the verbal offensive but also must be able to pull off a quick parry in defense. An unpracticed tongue loses its edge. You learn what your weaknesses are and how to guard against them. If you can make a better joke than they can, their attacks lose thrust. 2. When sparring with your friends, you aim to hit, not to wound. I'm also generous with allowing strikes to land if someone is getting dogpiled. It can draw the attention away from them, give them a win, and make everyone feel better. 3. Those who cannot match wits often resort to violence. Beware the dullard who goes to anger and fists instead of words and humor. Story 55. It's banter. We know each other well enough to understand which strings to pull without ever crossing any lines. When we say, forget you, what it really means is, love you, brother. Story 56. Best friendship meter there is. The harsher the insult, the better the friend. It's also a good way to test the waters with a guy you're developing friendship with. For example, I'll never joke about the body of a guy I barely know, but I'll fully let my best friend know that he's getting fat, that his beard looks bad, and that his nipples are more prominent than his penis. I also know that if he calls me out on things I do or the way I look, it's for me to improve and get better. We also have to recognize what guys do well. My best friend is a fantastic miniature painter, and I let him know when his work is bad and when it looks fantastic. Story 57. Because we are good friends, if I tell someone I barely know that he looks stupid or laugh when he fails at something, he will think I am rude. However, with good friends, they know I do not mean any harm because we have created a good, trusting bond. This is not exclusive to male friends. Just yesterday, one of my female friends told me she would beat me up at graduation. Story 58. It is like when dogs that are comfortable with each other play fight. The more comfortable they are, the rougher the play may be. Story 59. A friendly camaraderie where you can tease each other is a special thing. It shows you are close enough that they know it is all a joke. Story 60. I only joke like that with people I like and trust. If I am always polite and professional, then I either do not like you, do not trust you, or both. Story 61. One piece of advice given at officer school in the British Army. If they treat you with any form of deference, they will leave you to die. If they mock you without mercy, they will cheerfully follow you into hell. Story 62. Intelligence and life decisions, mostly. A lot of dude, are you stupid? If in good fun. Story 63. It is not done without care and without awareness of the person's mood. It is a game like verbal wrestling. Story 64. Sometimes my friend makes a mistake, and I say, "You suck, Joe." He always laughs because he knows I admire and love him. If your girlfriends cannot handle that, then they may not feel secure in your friendship. Story 65. My friends on my crew at work are relentless. If we are not joking or making fun of one another, there is something wrong. We all have pretty thick skin, so it has become a game to make the days go by quicker. I am literally writing this in between a group text messing with my friend on the next jet over. Story 66. Any guy so proud he can't appreciate a good roast isn't worth hanging out with. Just remember it needs to be funnier than it is cutting. When done properly, it isn't mean-spirited at all. For example, if one of my friends is a little short, I'll just walk up and say something like, "You are so short," and laugh at him because that isn't funny. What is funny, as long as he's a decent guy who can laugh at himself, are one-liners you only say because the setup fell into your lap. Hard to explain comedy, but I hope you get my meaning. Story 67. There are many factors. I know that with some of my gamer friends, we engage in friendly trash talk all the time. For me, it's just healthy competition, and it pushes us to improve so we can outplay each other. It's like a friendly rivalry to see who has the highest skill in whatever game we are playing, whether video games, card games, or board games. I have fond memories of playing Soul Calibur with my friends and watching each other grow and get better while we competed fiercely. Or with Magic: The Gathering, having a powerful deck where my friends literally spent hours crafting decks specifically to beat it. Good times. Story 68. Just sneaking into the conversation to say we women do this also. It's not just a guy thing. We just don't do it in front of men because it would come off as putting the other girl down. It's just a vibe you catch. I have some girlfriends who are very gentle, and I always talk to them sweetly, but I have some friends who I'm much closer with, who would never doubt my love and respect for them. Once we have that trust, it's funnier to be mean as hell. Like every time my sister and I watch a movie, if an unattractive character appears, we say, "That's you." I literally call my sister fat piece of work or skinny as a nickname, even though I love her more than anything. I think it's the same for guys, especially since guys feel like society won't let them express love the way girls can with each other. It's just play. Story 69. I roast everyone all the time. My girlfriend, not girlfriend, told me once, "I like to be with you because you are an asshole, but you are funnier. You make everyone laugh and think. You are always ranting about something." Story 70. I routinely say good morning to my friends with a "Why aren't you dead yet?" Keeps them on their toes. Story 71. Because we find it hilarious. I will say things like, "Dang, I thought I was smart enough." My best friend will say, "Ha, you?" When I will roll my eyes. He is also the friend who, when we were in church walking toward the midnight mass, I kicked his heel or ankle, causing him to go down on his knees. It is just what we do. Story 72. I will note that it tends to scale with how close the friendship is. The generally unwritten rule is not to poke at the topics your friend is actually insecure about or will not find funny. The closer you are, the more edgy you may be, in part because you know what you can and cannot be that way about. Additionally, shared history can put something in a different light for you than for someone else. I can crack jokes about a friend's deceased abusive parent because I was around when they were alive, and I saw all the difficulties they dealt with growing up. Those jokes from me come from a place of understanding and acknowledgement of how hard the past was for them. Someone else who was not around then does not have that, and saying the exact same words would come off very differently. Meanwhile, there is another friend I avoid cracking any bald jokes about because I know they are really upset about losing their hair. Story 73. It's that hint of honesty that men usually respect when we make fun of each other. I have made mistakes a few times when I needed my friends to tell me the truth with brutal honesty. Now I do not make mistakes as much, and they will never stop reminding me in a sarcastic way but with genuine love, and I would do the same with them. The day we stop may be the day we become acquaintances, not friends. Story 74. In society, men are taught to keep up walls and internalize their problems and shortcomings, much more so than women. This is a phenomenon you are likely aware of. Metaphorically, this involves putting up many walls. As a man, situations where we choose to externalize our problems and shortcomings can be tepid and awkward because we often have a history of letting down our guard, only to have it not go well. This is likely a familiar experience. By establishing a relationship with your friends that allows for mutual criticism, it becomes a way of regularly affirming that they are accepted within those walls. For example, if you are a man and have gained weight due to depression or other reasons, society expects that to be your problem alone. However, if I tease you about having love handles, it affirms, for both of us, that those walls do not need to be there and we can openly discuss it without the awkward step of you externalizing your problems and hoping I respond well. Story 75. Partially to keep everyone in line. If you are making mistakes, we will let you know. That is what friends do. Story 76. Because we are taught as children not to do sentimental things like cry or express care, we find ways to do it in coded language instead. Story 77. It is sarcasm. Being too direct and emotionally vulnerable could appear as weak or even a display of romantic intention. Therefore, we say the opposite of what we mean in a way that allows for comedic relief. This enables us to express appreciation for each other and laugh about it instead of it being weird and awkward. Story 78. There are a couple of parts to it. First, it is a way of showing someone that you feel close enough to them to know what might upset them without hurting their feelings. Second, it helps people avoid developing an inflated ego by providing honest feedback. It can be easy for someone to become arrogant if they do not have people around who feel comfortable calling them out. People who only associate with yes men are difficult to deal with. Story 79. Literally because it's funny. It's funny because we know we are joking and do not take offense to things. I generally answer calls from my best friend with, "What do you want now, you fat piece of trash?" And then we laugh and have a conversation. Story 80. Because being polite and formal is what I do with strangers and people I do not actually associate with. If I tease you and make fun of you, it is because I am comfortable with you and consider you family. But as soon as an outsider tries to do the same, I will be the first to defend you. Story 81. It helps to toughen us up. As a man, you know that life is going to be difficult at times, so friends turn technical insults into something fun or a way to bond. Story 82. Have you ever seen dogs play, where they gently bite each other? It is like that, but with words. I tease my close friends, but it does not mean anything, and I never say anything beyond the line. Story 83. Male friendships are based on actions rather than words. I have given and taken some absolutely vile insults from the boys over the years, but I would not say anything that indicated I did not care about them. Story 84. I am an expert at this, and I do not think anything else is on my mind other than having a great time roasting each other. It is just fun. Keeps you witty and laughing. Story 85. Told one of my best friends before we went to Iraq, his first deployment and my third, when you get your legs and genitals blown off, don't worry. I'll treat your wife better than you ever did. And because I'm a nice guy, I'll will you into the corner sometimes so you can watch. Male friends say some of the most foul things to each other. It's bonding. If I don't say offensively honest things to you, we are not friends. We are acquaintances at best. I will absolutely push the boundaries with my female friends too. Are we really friends if I've never called you a trashy woman? Edit. For clarity, I'm not talking about saying this kind of stuff in church or at a funeral. There is a time and place. That's the difference between an expression of friendship and being disrespectful. Story 86. Because that is how we socialize, the opposite of women. While women will support their friends in person and then speak negatively after they leave, men will speak negatively in person and say nice things after they leave. Story 87. Because that is our love language. I cannot really explain why, but I would not talk like this with less close friends I do not fully trust. Story 88. True teasing is just how men show love. Instead of saying, "I love you, bro," it comes out as jokingly criticizing each other. There is a very large difference between this and actually being hurtful. Dude, you really suck at this game. Get ready to lose. Yeah, but at least my mom is alive. Story 89. I say mean things to my friends because I know they understand I do not mean them. They know me well enough to realize I would not actually say those things seriously, so when I do, it is absurd and funny. Story 90. People do not have to pretend that men's feelings do not matter. We go through life fully expecting not to be taken seriously if we say we are upset. That expectation is affirmed almost 100% of the time, and instead, people just suggest that we should open up more. It is no coincidence that the focus is always on what we are doing wrong in the situation. That is entirely what we are used to and expect. So we form a type of camaraderie between people who understand that life. In that reality, making fun of someone is a way to communicate to them that they seem like it would not bother them. It becomes a compliment. It is usually understood that the person making the comments would not do it if they thought the other person would actually be bothered. So it is a way of saying, I know you are strong in this world. Story 91. A conversation between roommates I had years ago. Bro, you're getting fat. I know, but I'm still hooking up. Get a haircut. You're going to be fat and ugly. True, don't want to be both. Let's start working out more often. I'm down. Want to go for a run? Yeah. Give me a minute. Story 92. Depends on the individuals, but some groups work well by criticizing each other, and some do well by supporting each other. The best do both. Story 93, boredom, spice things up, test the other person's intelligence and comedic level. Mainly the humor aspect. Edit. Also to see if they are paying attention. Story 94. It is a sign of love for me because I never received positive affirmations growing up. I can also do it with some of my female friends and they do it back. Those are the best women. Story 95. Hazing is like a form of play and trust bonding. Your close friends should be allowed to say almost anything to you with respect, and you should not get upset. Whether it is a joke and they are just messing with you, or they think you messed up and need to hear some truth. The problem arises when someone crosses a line by accident and does not realize it. If the person who is hurt does not communicate, it can lead to bad vibes in the relationship. If that festers, both sides take it personally, fight, or end the relationship. That is why you have to have faith. Most people do not mean you harm or malice. It is simply a communication error based on different cultures or life experiences. Story 96. So I have recently been losing weight thanks to Ozempic. I said to my friend, "Hey, have you heard that the average British penis size has increased during the last year?" My friend, without missing a beat, replied, "Oh really? I didn't know you left the country." Story 97. I have long told people I am friends with that you will always be able to tell who I do not like or care about because they will be the ones I tell no jokes with and do not tease at all. If I am making fun of you and also willing to be made fun of, we are best friends for life. If you are not worth the emotional effort, I will be very cordial and quiet with you. Story 98. Make no mistake, my friends and family. We tease each other, but if a stranger says something about any of us, we all defend each other. Story 99. I saw a hypothesis that it is a way of gauging the other person's emotional state. If I insult you and you insult me right back, you are performing well in your emotional sphere. If I insult you and it harms you, that is how I know something is off with you. Story 100. I honestly do not know why. I do it with some friends, but I do not actually know the psychology behind it. Maybe it is a way of testing the strength of a friendship. Derogatory humor is typically reserved for strong relationships, so maybe it is a privilege. I do not know. Story 101. The way I have heard it said is that men insult each other without meaning it, while women compliment each other without meaning it. Obviously, this is an internet saying, so its accuracy is uncertain, but it seems relatively accurate from my limited point of view. Story 102. I do not know. My close friends and I always joke with each other. I do not know if we could go more than 2 to 3 sentences without teasing one another. New friends I have made at an older age do this less often. Story 103. What is going on in our heads? To offend or embarrass them at the most hurtful level ever. Why? Because we are friends. Do not trust your friends if they do not give you a hard time. Story 104. Depends on your connection. 2 of my closest friends I insult all the time. My other closest friend I do not. I am in fact closest with the one I do not insult, but for very different reasons. We do not tease each other because we both know it is not fun for either of us. The other 2, that has always been our friendship. Story 105. Older men are used to this. We would all give each other a hard time and joke with friends. That actually means you are part of the group. Younger men do not understand this. Social skills have changed after social media. If you are a guy and people talk behind your back, that is not good. But generally, that is just what guys do. We are comfortable with that because that is how we grew up, face to face or on the landline. Now you can be very bold online, but you need to be bold in person, and it is different. I hear women are much worse, especially in school, from what my nieces have told me. Story 106. Men may say unpleasant things to each other without meaning them. Women may say kind things to each other without meaning them. I think I prefer the first option. Story 107. We do not touch anything that actually hurts, and only if it is something they can help or fix. Depending on the humor between the 2 friends, if something is too ridiculous and outrageous, we know it is not true. Story 108. It's just banter. I only do it when I know someone well enough that I will make fun only of the things they don't mind or even enjoy as the subject of some lighthearted fun. Story 109. I think it is something that goes back to prehistoric times when groups of men had to go out and hunt for long periods. If interpersonal problems arose from simple words, the group would fail to produce results. This poking and prodding is a way of identifying those problems and building resilience. Story 110. I think in every group, there is usually one or two people who have unwritten permission to tease others. In most cases, they are the least integral members, but they must be funny. Otherwise, it sounds intentional. It is usually in the form of gossip, such as those who got drunk and made out with transgender individuals unintentionally, those who are in direct messaging with ladies, or those who got conned trying to make extra money. One of my best friends has a childhood group that he hangs out with. Some of them attended the same elementary school with us. The least integral member is the one who makes funny jokes about others. He has never crossed the line with me because I never laugh at his jokes, especially around people I do not know. But he is very funny. Story 111. It is basically play fighting but with words. Male friends will insult each other without meaning it, and female friends will compliment each other without meaning it. Story 112. I had a good friend like this, the key word being had. They had no problems joking around and talking nonsense, even in adulthood. But the moment anyone responded in kind or gave them constructive criticism, they became very defensive. There is a reason why none of our mutual friends hang out with them anymore, and I am now one of those people. Person I have no time for. Story 113. If they can handle it, then they are doing okay. If they cannot handle it, I know they need help. It is a workaround for men never being allowed to show weakness. Story 114. For women, conflict is a problem. For men, it is a characteristic. Breaking balls is similar to sparring in a combat sport or rough and tumble play with toddlers. It not only trains you to be a better fighter or roaster, but it is also a way to establish trust. You gain a better sense of how far is too far and in which settings. Certain animals, particularly those with pack behavior, do the same during play fighting. It is a tool to establish and learn boundaries. Story 115. When we are giving each other a hard time, we are not doing it to be mean or with the intent of causing harm. It is often along the lines of, you did something unwise, just like every one of us has done something unwise, but it is not going to stop us from caring about you. You do not need to worry about your flaws. We still have your back. Story 116. Playing with wordplay and sometimes some creative one-upmanship involved in the insults. With the right type of company, often going straight to the more outrageous, perverted, sick, morbid, insulting, creative degeneracy. Story 117. First, it's funny. Second, it shows that I know where to poke for a laugh and where not to poke. Plus, I think it's good to keep your tongue sharp and quick. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.